The ancient yogis were among humanity's first true inner scientists. Long before the invention of EEG machines, fMRI scanners, endocrinology laboratories, or molecular genetics, they turned their attention inward and used the human body as a living laboratory. Through disciplined observation and centuries of experimentation, they investigated breath, sensation, attention, emotion, energy, perception, and consciousness with extraordinary precision. Their laboratory was the nervous system. Their instrument was awareness itself. Where modern science describes the human organism through the language of physiology, chemistry, and neuroscience, the yogic tradition developed its own functional vocabulary. Modern science speaks of neuroplasticity, vagal tone, heart rate variability, endocrine signaling, epigenetic regulation, autonomic nervous system balance. The yogic tradition speaks of prana, nadis, chakras, bandhas, mudras, samadhi. The language is different, the models are different, yet they may be describing many of the same underlying human processes from profoundly different perspectives. This book does not claim that every ancient concept can be reduced to modern biology, nor that every scientific discovery validates ancient philosophy. Instead, it explores where these two maps of human experience intersect, where they diverge, and where each may illuminate the other. For centuries, yoga has often been presented as either religion, mysticism, or physical exercise. Modern science, on the other hand, has tended to examine isolated mechanisms, brain activity, hormones, neurotransmitters, breathing patterns, inflammation, or electrical signaling, often without addressing the larger context of conscious experience. Both approaches offer valuable insights. Both also have limitations. This book strips away both blind dogma and blind materialism. You do not need belief for controlled breathing to influence your nervous system. You do not need religion for mantra to alter patterns of attention, emotion, and measurable brain activity. You do not need faith for meditation to reshape stress responses, improve emotional regulation, and change the structure and function of the brain through neuroplasticity. These practices are not dependent upon belief. They are dependent upon practice. The human organism responds to repeated patterns of breath, movement, sound, a posture, and intention because it is biologically designed to adapt. Ancient yogis discovered many of these principles through direct experience. Modern science is beginning to describe some of the physiological mechanisms that make them effective. Yet science still encounters a profound mystery. It can measure neural firing. It can map blood flow through the cortex. It can analyze hormones, neurotransmitters, inflammatory markers, and electrical activity. It can observe correlations between subjective experience and objective physiology with remarkable precision. But one question remains unanswered. Who is having the experience? Why does awareness exist at all? Why is there a first-person perspective behind the biology? Science can measure the footprints of consciousness. It has not yet explained the one who leaves them. Ancient yogic science begins where material measurement reaches its limits, not by rejecting science, but by extending inquiry into the domain of direct experience. The yogi investigates consciousness from the inside. The scientist investigates the organism from the outside. Neither perspective is complete on its own. Together, they offer the possibility of a more comprehensive understanding of what it means to be human. This book is an invitation to explore that meeting place. It is not a call to believe. It is a call to investigate, to observe carefully, to practice consistently, to become both the researcher and the research. For ultimately, the greatest laboratory is not found in a university or a hospital. It is the human being. And the greatest discovery may not be what the brain does, but the nature of the awareness that knows it. Introduction: The Television Problem. Chapter 0: Who is watching? Every scientific revolution begins with a question that refuses to disappear. For centuries, humanity has sought to understand the nature of reality by studying the world around us. We have split the atom, mapped the human genome, measured the age of the universe, and watched individual neurons communicate with one another in real time. Modern neuroscience can now observe remarkable details of the living brain. It can measure blood flow, brainwave activity, synaptic signaling, neurotransmitter release, functional brain networks, electrical oscillations, hormonal interactions. Every year, our instruments become more sophisticated, allowing us to observe the biological machinery of human thought with increasing precision. Yet one profound mystery remains: not how the brain works, but why experience exists at all. How do electrical impulses become the feeling of joy? How does chemistry become the color blue? How does neural activity become the taste of food, the sound of music, or the awareness of one's own existence? Why is there a first-person experience behind biology? This question has become known in philosophy as the hard problem of consciousness. It is one of the deepest unsolved questions in science. We understand many of the mechanisms associated with perception, memory, attention, language, and decision-making. We can often identify which regions of the brain become active during particular experiences. But identifying neural activity is not the same as explaining conscious experience itself. Science can describe what accompanies awareness. It has not yet explained why awareness exists. Who is experiencing experience? Who is aware of every thought, every emotion, every sensation, and every memory? Who is watching? This question stands at the heart of every contemplative tradition, and nowhere is it explored more systematically than in yoga. The materialist assumption. Modern neuroscience has largely developed within a materialist framework. Its central working assumption is that consciousness emerges from the activity of the brain. In other words, brain, consciousness. This framework has produced extraordinary advances in medicine, psychology, and neuroscience. It has revealed how injury affects cognition, how memories are formed, how attention is regulated, and how emotions arise alongside complex neural processes. The yogic tradition begins from a different possibility. Rather than asking how the brain creates consciousness, it asks whether consciousness is the fundamental reality through which the brain functions. In this view, consciousness, brain, experience. The brain is not dismissed or considered unimportant. It is regarded as an exquisitely sophisticated instrument through which consciousness expresses itself in the physical world. This perspective is not unique to yoga. Variations of it appear in Advaita Vedanta, Kashmir Shaivism, certain schools of Buddhism, and in modern philosophical frameworks such as idealism and some forms of panpsychism. This book does not ask you to accept this view as fact. It asks you to understand it, explore it, and test what follows from it through disciplined practice. The television analogy. Imagine a television. When the image on the screen becomes distorted, we naturally inspect the television itself. A damaged circuit, a faulty antenna, or a loose cable can all degrade the picture. Repairing the television improves what appears on the screen. Yet fixing the hardware does not create the broadcast. The program exists independently of the receiver. The receiver determines how clearly the signal is expressed. Throughout this book, we will use this analogy as a practical framework. Body equals hardware. Nervous system, circuitry. Breath equals power regulation. Endocrine system, chemical modulation. Brain equals receiver and decoder. Mind equals interface. Consciousness, signal. Like every analogy, it has limits. It is not presented as a proven scientific model, but as a way of understanding the yogic perspective on consciousness and the role of practice. Modern medicine has become extraordinarily skilled at repairing the hardware. Yoga specializes in optimizing the receiver. Every posture, every breath, every mantra, every mudra, every bandha, every meditation technique is ultimately directed toward one purpose: reducing interference so that awareness can function with greater clarity. Most people spend their lives trying to change the images appearing on the screen. The yogi begins somewhere deeper. The yogi learns to refine the receiver, and through that refinement, a remarkable possibility emerges. Perhaps what we call awakening is not the creation of a new consciousness. Perhaps it is simply the removal of the noise that has always obscured it. That is the experiment this book invites you to undertake.